Hello everyone. I'm delicate to stand before you today to share teacher of English as a foreign language experience and professional development with you. Throughout this presentation, we will mentioning 5 points of the contents. Point number 1 is between experiential knowledge and formal academic education English language teacher mindset. And point number 2 is characteristic of the good English language teacher, reflective practice, and professionalism. Point number 3 is professional development and models of language teacher education. Point number 4 is future challenge of the English language teaching profession. And point number 5 is conclusion. In the field of English as a foreign language or EFL teaching, the balance between experience and professional development is essential. This capture deep dives into the world of EFL instruction, exploring how teacher experience and growth as a professional impact the learning process. We will discuss the challenge and question that define the EFL teaching profession, examining the characteristic of effective EFL educator and the evolving landscape of teacher education and professionalism. Ultimately, we aim to provide insight into the dynamic nature of EFL teaching as in a globalist world. So point number 1 is between experiential knowledge and formal academic education, English language teacher mindset. There is a 4 point on it. Experiential knowledge. There is also have expensive professional experience, observing learning, subjective and implementness, influence and teaching. So, teacher process as a unique form of knowledge, know, subjectivity and experiential knowledge differs from formal theory different academic knowledge in that it is subjective and often implicit. It may encompass personal beliefs, individual attribution, or unfounded conclusion. This subjectivity can occasionally conflict with or overshadow objective formal knowledge. Influence on teaching. Yes, despite its subjectivity, experiential knowledge plays a crucial role in shaping teacher interaction practice. It provides educational with a strong sense of direction and significantly influence their decision making in the classroom. And Woods in 1996 suggested that a network of beliefs, accommodation, and knowledge referred to as BAK underlies all aspects of teacher work. This BAK system informs everything teacher do and say, from structuring perfection of the curriculum to education on how to implement it, from overall organizational strategies to specific classroom activities and verbal communication. On 3.2 is structural similarities. Experiential knowledge in teaching exhibits notable structural parallel with a formal academic knowledge. This is resembling has led to various terms such as subjective theories, lay theories, or domain theories. So in formal relation, both experiential and academic knowledge utilize formal relation to connect different elements. And on vacation in teaching, experiential knowledge and academic theories serve a similar function in the teaching process. In 3.3 is distinction mindset of teacher. The teaching profession is marked by a unique mindset that results from the interaction of autobiographies, experiential knowledge, and formal academic education. And composition of the teacher mindset is a teacher mindset is complex amalgamation of both explicit and implicit. in potential for positive influence. Despite in the inherent stability, teacher mindset can be positively influenced if they become aware of the element that constitute them and actively re-evaluate their teaching strategy and procedures. And 3.4 is transition from learning to teacher. All teachers undergo a critical transition from being learners to becoming professional educators, regardless of the subject they teach. And the impact of language learning biograph is the individual language learning biograph of foreign language. Teachers are crucial in determining their effectiveness and perspectiveness in the classroom.
The question which characteristics a good teacher should possess and how this become visible in good teaching practice has occupied the academic discourse for decades. Good teachers are described as professionals who create an atmosphere of mutual respect in the classroom, the school, and beyond. The notion of competence in this understanding delineates the teacher's knowledge base, their knowledge of the content, pedagogy, the curriculum, educational purposes, their learners, etc. The notion of performance is concerned with the actual activity of teaching. In a similar vein, a close connection between teacher professionalism and the quality of teaching has been established. The choice of adequate methods, tasks for knowledge transfer or exercise for intelligent practicing, for example, will certainly be of a different kind in mathematics, history, or foreign language teaching for that matter. Concerning the field of English language teaching, Richards has suggested 10 core dimensions of good language teaching practice which partly overlap with the general characteristic described by Helmke, but overall more explicitly focus on the peculiarities of the language teaching profession. Other aspects: teaching may interact with one's foreign language for proficiency or even compensate for possible shortcomings. Not much longer will they be teaching what has been commonly accepted as British English or American English, since the nation-based parameters describing such variants are disappearing or, even more likely, are being rejected by those who speak it as no longer discernible or applicable to their personal situation. In the practice, most academic teacher education programmers require a C2 level of their graduates, which denotes the highest level of proficiency according to the CEFR. Disciplinary knowledge refers to a body of knowledge that is considered to be the professional's foundation in the field of TEFL as an academic discipline. It does not necessarily immediately translate into classroom practice, but rather describe specialized theoretical knowledge. In this understanding, disciplinary knowledge particularly includes insights from the field of applied linguistics, but also from literary studies or cultural studies. The term pedagogical content knowledge or PCK is known as Fachdidaktisches Wissen in German. Technological pedagogical content knowledge has been developed as a comprehensive concept by Kohler and Mishra. Teaching skills are usually acquired over time, while teaching skills include a certain degree of automation. Teaching is not simply understood as the application of a fixed set of knowledge or learned skills. The idea of contextual knowledge is closely related to Leif and Wenger's theory of situated learning. This becomes particularly obvious when comparing international schools and the diverse approaches to language teaching in different countries. Each school has their own culture, their own way of dealing with their individual situation. A teacher has to understand a school's norms, rules, habits, and forces that have emerged over time, and in particular, how this influence teaching practices and classroom dynamics. As the name implies, learner-focused teaching is concerned with classroom interaction from the learner's perspective. An increase of learner talking time is important when taking into consideration the results of DESI, a large-scale educational achievement study, which has shown that on average teacher talking time covers the better part of a lesson, while the amount of talking time of all learners accounts for less than a third of the overall talking time. It could be argued that pedagogical reasoning skills lie at the core of all characteristics mentioned here, since they integrate and draw on many of the other dimensions. Again, the term skills hints at the fact that the performance domain is given greater priority. One of the most influential notions in this field is that of reflective practice, which denotes a careful consideration and critical assessment of one's professional actions. The idea of reflective practice values the importance of experiential knowledge as opposed to a rigid application of theories and technical knowledge, but accept that experience alone does not necessarily trigger learning. Therefore, the reflective practitioner allows himself to experience surprise, puzzlement, or confusion in a situation which he finds uncertain or unique. And the ideal of reflective practice is closely connected to a research-oriented attitude as, for example, represented in action research in the field of educational, which is also concerned with a systematic reflection of teaching practices from the practitioner's perspective for the purpose of improving professionals' competences. While the notion of a reflective practitioner initially focuses on the individual teacher, some have argued that a solitary notion of teaching as well as teacher educational is not only insufficient but also unproductive for reflective practices. This collective dimension of the language teaching profession is captured by the notion of a community of practice, which again relates to the theory of Leif and Wenger. In the context discussed here, any group of learners in the classroom, the teacher's body of a particular school, all teachers of English as a foreign language, or the participants of an academic language teacher education program could be considered communities of practice, which are also learning communities.
Teacher professionalism development and models of language teacher education. On the most basic level, the notion of professionalism involves an understanding of English language teaching as a profession. Achievement, a membership to the profession is based on official standards such as acknowledged academic qualification of the acquisition of practical expertise as part of the training. Moreover, professionalism is also concerned with the question of efficiency. Prescribed professionalism as an expression of a top-down focus denotes the managerial competencies needed by teachers to deal with the formal requirements and standards of regulatory bodies. As members of their profession, teachers will be held accountable for respecting the curriculum, executing final examination, or implementing new educational paradigms. In contrast, independent professionalism is an expression of a bottom-up focus triggered by the teacher individual desire for change and improvement. It is closely related to the idea of receptive practice developed above and requires teachers to continuously and systematically reflect on their teaching practice and experience as well as their values and beliefs. The CREP model can be considered as some kind of training on the job. Professional competence is understood to evolve from observing, studying with, and imitating an experienced master practitioner who serves as role models and passes his her expertise to the next generation. The applied models takes theoretical academic knowledge as a starting point, which is present by advanced through lectures and reading. Professional competence is achieved as a result of applying academic knowledge in teaching practice again. While nobody will seriously doubt the importance of a theoretical knowledge base for the language teaching profession, the applied science model is too unilateral. On the other hand, the model cannot solve any inconsistencies that may arise from conflicting knowledge in the different academic disciplines contributing to the teaching profession. Prior knowledge and experience which are modified and defined in a curricular process or of practice and reflection leading to professional competence. Model in widely accepted in teacher education, the formal traineeship that teachers have to do as part of their professionalism development is in way the model of effective practice too. Particular emphasis is put on the fact that teachers have to be able to systematically research their theoretical academic knowledge and adapt it to their teaching practice in specific classroom situation. Teacher education has been proposed by Kelly and Grenfell. Nowadays, any group of learners is characterized by a great diversity of socioeconomic and educational background, of language and cultures. However, while dynamics resulting from cases of globalization and global connectedness are probably even more difficult to handle a moment notice, and the social and linguistic constellation of a classroom may change and confront the teacher with unexpected challenges in view of communication demand and processes of social interaction.
So, in conclusion, this chapter focuses on delineating the characteristic of a professional English language teacher and elucidating the principle of effective teaching in English language classroom. It commences by emphasizing the significance of teacher experiential knowledge, accurate both prior to and during their formal education, delving into how these experience shape the unique mindset of teacher and influence their professional development.